Okay.
Uh, I'm resident of Collinwood for YouTube. Joel Sains. That's my buddy Mark Gillman. That's my buddy Don Schmidt. That's my buddy Bobby Lugosi. That's my buddy Daniel Culver. We're here to talk and review the movie Lost Boys from 1987. Keither Sutherland is here. He's not alone. Jason Patrick is here. Corey Haim is here. So the Coreys are here. Feldman and Haim. um, this movie has a great soundtrack. A little fun fact for you guys. Yes, you see it when the family's driving in town. It says murder capital of the world. That's legit, actually, here because there were a bunch of murders in that actual town. So that's a little fun fact for you guys. But to get to the movie, first of all, Mark, we'll start with you, buddy. When did you first see this?
From start to finish today. I've come in at different parts of the movie, but from watch the opening to the end, the first time was today.
Cool. Dawn.
I had to actually message a friend of mine, and a shout out to my friend Linda, who's going to watch this when you upload it. We're old friends going back to 1987. And I said, I don't think we saw on the theatrical release. I said, did we see it on VHS a year or two later? She said, yeah, it was her sister, Perry, who unfortunately passed away last October. Told her sister, yeah, she was really into vampires, and said, you really need to see this movie, tell her sister, because the guys are really cute. And this is like probably 1988, so I was about 25 when I first saw it. We saw it on VHS, and it really made an impression. So I saw it when y'all were very little or not born.
I saw this sorry, go ahead, Bobby. When did you first see this?
I think when I was a teenager. This was I always loved like Dracula, Bela Lugosi, like the classic vampires. And my stepbrother, who thinks it's crazy that I watch old movies, he's about 12 years older than me, and he was always saying, "You got to see The Lost Boys. That's my favorite vampire movie." So he's the one that got me to see it.
Yeah, Daniel, when did you first see The Lost Boys?
Actually, believe it or not, I only saw it a few years ago, but I don't remember what year. I think maybe 2021 or 2022.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
I saw this when I was a kid. My mother showed it to me. This was really, really interesting movie for sure. It's crazy to think Jason Patrick's going to go from horror stud to try to be an action star after this movie. He's going to do Speed 2, Cruise Control. He's going to play the protagonist in that. This movie does have, speaking of who's, I've talked about the cast. Keither Sutherland, he's young yet, but he's in this movie. This movie's going to launch his career in every way. Because he's going to do Young Guns 1 and 2. Which was more meant for television, by the way. So, fun fact there. You have Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. So, what did you guys, first of all, think of the two things? Think of the cast and think of the character of Star, a female who was bit by the vampires in this movie. What did you guys think of those two things, Mark?
I asked Corey Haim's like facial expressions and reactions all throughout this movie are great and made me laugh a lot. Star, when I first saw Star, my first thought was it was Joanna Going. I think they look so much alike. I thought it was Joanna Going from Dark Shadows, and I didn't know until I looked it up, that it was someone. But no, I thought the was great. There was a great, and I loved everything about this movie.
Step up or they're gonna be exposed.
Is that the girls?
He's just.
I'm not sure.
No,
Yes.
that's
That's
Patrick.
Patrick.
Yes, it is. I'll often mistaken for them. I got your girls right here.
Hi, Patrick.
Uh,
Hello.
how's it going? Let's see.
It's smooth, like vomit of cat.
Uh, go, Mark. Were you finished, or I'm sorry?
Oh yeah,
Okay. Dawn, go ahead. What did you
Well,
think?
You know, I hadn't seen this obviously since the late 80s. And now looking at it with a little bit more knowledge, this cast was so stellar. You've got Diane Wiest, who just came off her Academy Award win with Hannah and her sisters when she took this role. You had two stage veterans. You had Edward Herrmann, who was really known for his FDR roles, and you had Bernard Hughes, who was a phenomenal Broadway Tony Award-winning actor, who, by the way, also played Stuart Bronson in episode 27 of Dark Shadows.
that's right.
And in his television series Doc, he was married to actress Elizabeth Wilson, who played Mrs. Hopewell, the head of the family home. So I just had to throw the Dark Shadows in. But, you know, you had the Kiefer Sutherland, who, you're right, his breakout role. And you know, Corey Feldman and the other kid. I mean, the casting director should have won an Academy Award because this cast was fantastic. So
Yeah.
that's my comment. When I was watching it rewatching it last couple of days, I went, holy crap. No wonder Hollywood's in arrears right now, because they're not making films like this with great writing and imagination with great casts like this. So I'm very opinionated on this subject. Anyway, thanks, Joel.
Well, what did you think of Star?
Oh, Star. When I think of her, I thought. Well, originally I was doing some research on this, and they wanted a blonde, and I think it was Jason Patric who really pushed her for her to be in that role. I thought she was great. I thought she was really. I thought she was terrific.
Bobby?
Yes, I thought everyone was great as you were describing how perfect the cast was. It reminds me almost like of like Casablanca, like that type of movie where it's like every like role is just like perfect in it, you know, and I know I'm comparing it to a big one, but it's true how like every little character that everyone's like perfectly cast, all the little bits, all the little lines that they have. It's so well done, and I think Star is such a great performance that she gives.
Yes,
it's very you feel so much sympathy for her, and you really you know she's like she's not like the other vampires. You know that her heart is there.
Yeah. Patrick, couple questions for you. When did you first see this movie? What did you think of the cast, and what did you think of Star?
I thought it was much gooder. Could you repeat that question?
Sorry. When did you first see this movie?
Oh, I saw it when the trailers were over.
Yeah.
I saw it. They showed trailers and then they showed the movie. So that's when I first saw it. You like the year? I saw it in 1987 when the film was released. I saw it in the theaters.
Yeah. What did you think of the cast?
At the time, it was just an ace bandage because it was a sprain. But the cast would have hitched a lot. Was that the question? But all seriousness aside, I thought it was gooder than other movies. I thought it was much gooder. I thought Edward Herrmann. You should be able to trust Edward Herrmann. Edward Herrmann's the guy who doesn't do these sorts of things, and then he dies.
Yeah.
So and the problem is, I am the Edward Herrmann. I am the academic who'd be dating some gal with Corey Feldman, who looks suspiciously like me, and I'd be trying to, throw all the concern, off because I'm not the father of those kids, Muriel. And I've said it again and again. And you can get your DNA tests, and I'll get my lawyers, and that's it.
Are you sure you're not the father of those kids?
Oh, trust me. Trust me. Do I look like an anthropologist? No, my name's not Dick Leakey. I am not the father of those children. I don't care if the kid looks like me. It's coincidence. A lot of kids look like me. A lot of kids in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, who were born between 1993 and 1997 look like me. But that doesn't mean anything, Jewel, and I'm tired of these allegations. It's the absolute waste.
I apologize, good sir. What did you think of Star?
She's on The View, and I think she's great. I think when Stephen King is on there and they get their thing going, I like her more than Joy or that woman who says Holocaust was a good idea, because it wasn't. Whoopi Goldberg, no thanks. You're not getting away with that on my watch.
Oh my God.
I'm shocked by these questions.
Yeah. I bet. Daniel Culver, buddy, what did you think of the cast, and what did you think of the character of Star?
I thought it was a pretty good cast. And yes, Star, like Bobby said, you can tell she's not like the others. And I was actually expecting it to be revealed that maybe she wasn't a vampire. Like, that's how different she was acting. Like, it's really, I don't know if.
Yeah, I know she said she was expecting, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know how you guys felt, but yeah, I wouldn't have been shocked if, like I said, it turns out she wasn't a vampire, because she was just that different from the others. And, you could tell she just wasn't as evil as them,
Yeah. Here's a question for you guys, because with vampire movies, vampires tend to have the power of hypnosis. And this was a bit different than anything I had seen. Sutherland's character isn't just using hypnosis. He's using suggestion. He's using words. He's using, you enjoy worms, you enjoy maggots. And it's like his food is turning into those things. And this is what tricks Jason Patrick into drinking the blood. Because when they say, it's blood, he just thinks, they're messing with him again. And what did you guys all think of that, Mark?
I thought it was a really cool effect, and I'm always fascinated by how everything portrays vampires very they all have different powers according to different shows and things. But I thought that was a thing, and I was actually kind of starving for some fried rice after I watched that. I didn't care about the maggots. I was hungry.
That's nice. I like that. Don, go.
Well, I thought it was interesting. I'm looking at it a little bit differently, because they're new in town, and it was kind of, in a way, it was like a frat initiation, and you had that juxtaposed where he fell into the bad crowd, but his younger brother fell into the good crowd, and they were diametrically opposed to each other, and it was kind of like, you want to be part of the group, and he endured all that. I found it really interesting that in that way.
Yeah, Bobby, what did you think?
I love that. I love the switching from the maggots to the rice and the noodles to the worms. I feel like Kiefer Sutherland, you kind of sense the hypnotism in his voice a little bit, because of the way he's saying it so calmly. So it's a great effect, and I love how it. To me, in a weird way, this movie kept reminding me of the 1931 Dracula. How there's the trick, how Dracula has his own trick with the wine, and how they do another trick with the wine. How he sets it up, how he uses the hypnotism, so that Michael drinks the wine on his own, because he gets them to just always assume it's the food, no matter what he thinks it might look like.
Yeah, it's a great point. Patrick, what did you think?
Well, the water wine switch is one of the highlights of the Mass. So that goes back a long way, and it's always flawless. I don't know what they teach those guys, but the sleight of hand is absolutely beautiful every time. But seriously, carbs are the enemy, Jewel. I've said that again and again. And that's pure protein those boys were getting.
Ugh.
They're growing boys and they need it. And to be convinced that it's pasta, okay, that's fine. That's Jerry Seinfeld's wife wrote a whole book about how to sneak sort of vegetables and good protein into things that kids will think are good. So with dwindling food supplies in the world and a fat crisis, let's just call it like it is, raging the planet, and plummeting the globe. The globe is actually swelling due to this carb consumption. I think looking at alternative food sources is simply the socially responsible thing to do. And falling for the glass of blood thing, guilty. It's happened to me.
Daniel, what did you think, man?
Bill Cosby vibe with it.
I thought it was, pretty good because, yeah, like, it was kind of interesting because, at first it made you question if he was just hallucinating or if it was their powers, because, at first you kind of just think they screwed with him, like, like that you actually think, and then, you see the maggots and it actually turns into rice, when he drops it, and then, there's the worms, and then, it turns out to actually be noodles. And then, like you said, he used the then they have him drink the blood, and actually, I could see why he would think he wouldn't think it actually is blood, because of what happened.
Yeah, it's really, really.
What
different.
happened was showmanship, plain and simple.
It really was. I do like how because this is all part of the plot to get Edward Herman's character, where he wants to turn the boys, and then if they turn them, she'll have no choice but to get with his character. That's the plot. That's one of the plots of this movie that you find
whatever
out.
It takes. Listen,
Yeah,
it's
whatever
tough to
it
be a
takes.
single man in your 50s. Whatever it takes.
But he is courting her too, to a degree. He's very, I don't want to say Barnabas-esque, but he sort of is in a way. He's not like, this isn't Barnabas kidnapping Josette here. He's like taking her on.
Jewel, he's not Barnabas-esque, but he's like a little Barnabas. He's like a Barnabette.
Yeah, he's taking her on dates, taking her to dinner.
Oh, what a horrible man. Taking her on dates, taking her to dinner. Probably lets her order the lobster.
What did you guys think of
Jewel?
Yeah, what did you guys think of his very gentlemanly vampire character, at least up front, anyways? Mark?
Oh, I couldn't hear the question. I'm sorry.
Sorry. What did you think of Edward Herman's gentlemanly vampire character here?
But I thought the dinner scene was hilarious when was messing with him and like throwing water on him, and then like they put garlic in the pasta, and then when the lights went off and he held a mirror right up to him, saw his reflection. I thought that was great. I love that dinner scene.
Don, what did you think?
Well, I remember when I first saw it, and he really throws you off. It's like, okay, I guess the guys are wrong about this. And because Thorne's like growling at the Lost Boys. I mean, they're really trying to throw you off there. But I agree with Mark on the dinner scene. And I didn't catch this the first time I saw it, but when he introduced his friends as Edgar and Alan, I freaking cracked. That's good entertainment. It's really good writing. And I caught it this time. I went, that is freaking awesome. And I love the dinner scene, but I thought Edward Herman was just kind of like this. I don't want to say smooth, but smooth in a way. Just like he was the head vampire. He's really cool, and had almost everybody fooled. I thought it was great. It was like Patrick said. It was a very un-Edward Herman role.
Yeah, Yeah. Well, he did. Now, keep in mind, he does play the dad in Teen Wolf. There is that with Michael J. Fox.
The
Um,
same character, I think.
Bobby, what did you think of Edward Herrmann's Gentlemanly Vampire here?
I thought he was amazing. Before this, I had seen him on the Gilmore Girls and in the 1995 the Munsters. Here Come the Munsters. So even like when I saw he was in the credits, I was like excited to see him, and he has such a kindness about him that I feel like similar to Jonathan Fritz Barnabas, it really shines through, and so he had me completely fooled. He had me. It totally threw me off. And then when he switches into into the evil vampire, he was like magnificent in that too. It really gave him a chance to show for Edward Herrmann to show like all these sides of his acting, and he's incredible at it.
Yeah. Patrick, what did you think of the Gentlemanly Vampire?
In the documentary FDR, American Badass, Barry Bostwick portrays FDR fighting off constant werewolf attacks from the Nazis. Of course, we later learned it wasn't werewolves, it was vampires. And you got to wonder, how did FDR, played by Edward Herrmann many times, Eleanor and Franklin Together Again, or whatever it was.
The White House years.
I think that one was an FDR movie. Yeah, yeah. You know, you got to wonder, how did he go from being in a wheelchair to vigorously standing in Santa Jacinta or wherever they are? How did he do that? Well, there's only one way FDR could have done that, and that's with the Curse of the Nosferatu, which for him was a blessing, and maybe it was a blessing for the whole country.
Yeah.
Daniel, what did you think of the Gentlemanly Vampire here?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. And I actually like the idea that, because he was invited in, the stuff like the normal vampire stuff didn't actually work. Like, I thought that was actually a pretty creative twist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Nosferatu is an awesome movie, by the way.
Yeah,
It's a great movie. It's Klaus Kinski's best.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. I've actually seen the original.
Oh, the remake. No, that was the original. Willem Dafoe.
Oh, no, the one with Max Schreck.
Max Schreck from Batman Returns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great.
Oh my god. Yeah, I really love what they did here with the Gentlemanly Vampire who's trying to date the mom, whatever, and he's got plan A and plan B cooking at the same time. And I love what they do with Thorne. You guys are right, they throw you off a bit here. And the rule of, hey, don't invite the vampire into the goddamn house. This is how I felt when Barnabas knocked on the door and Mrs. Johnson standing there looking at him like this, like, lady, do not let that dude in that house. Like, seriously?
He had been invited in like 175 years before.
Yeah, true.
I mean,
true.
he needed to invite Mrs. Johnson in. She's the mayonnaise doubting, roast beef sniffing invader. But if you're talking about his multi-stage plan, yes, ZZ Top predicted this long before, because Edward Herrmann, as FDR, finally had legs and he knew how to use them.
What did you guys think of the cool camera work we got here? I love the opening scene where we see the water, we see the Ferris wheel. Very Joel Schumacher, who, let's not get into Batman. Let's not think bad thoughts. Let's think good thoughts about this movie.
He's the guy who got Batman right.
There you go.
They finally got it right.
Actually enjoyed some of his Batman stuff, but I think
They call him BM.
Yeah, aesthetically, you can't be Joel Schumacher. He's got a very, very art style that I love. I love all the bright colors. He knows how to create a mood.
Yeah, he does. It's a great kit, the way he works that camera in this movie too, with not just the opening scene, but all the cool character shots we get with everybody, whether it's down in the vampire's cave and all that. Don, what did you think?
Well, I think what was said before about especially the opening scene where he really captured Santa Cruz, which is funky. I was just talking to a friend of mine that was living there at the time when they were filming the movie, and she knew so many people that were extras and really excited about the filming there. But yeah, Santa Cruz is funky to itself and really captured, like when they went to Bernard Hughes' house, they captured that, the inside of that house, the cave, that whole sequence at the beginning of the movie when they're playing the Doors song, People Are Strange, and just all the characters that they captured on that sequence, which was really kind of set the mood for the rest of the film. I thought it was great. I mean, this movie is really compact. It's only just a little bit like 137 minutes. I mean, it's pretty compact, but I thought the camera work was terrific.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Bobby, what did you think?
I agree. I was like really struck by like what a like exciting movie it was, like visually, all the stuff that was going on. But yeah, I thought so. Like it was like it had like such a style of its own and like an energy of its own.
Yeah. Patrick, what did you think?
Yeah, you talk about the rushing water and People Are Strange. I was in the men's room at this point, and both of those things applied. People were strange, and there was rushing, swirling water. I did miss the beginning of the movie, though, so it's good. I'm glad I'm catching up.
Yeah.
This is Body Double, right? Is what we're talking about.
No. The beginning of the movie, they shoot this water sequence, and then you see the Ferris wheel, you see the rides for the fair, if you will, or carnival. And
there was a stall that was kind of a ride, sort of.
I think one of the best shot scenes that I enjoy most is the motorcycle sequence when they're having that motorcycle chase down. That I can't even imagine how hard that could have been to film.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But really, really cool. Daniel, what did you think, man?
I think they did a pretty good job. Like you were saying, it was pretty well done. And speaking of which, how did you guys feel about that guy playing the saxophone at the beginning?
Greatest band of all time.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if if they made him a vampire or something. That'd be a kind of interesting reveal.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, that's one of the best things about Lost Boys. That when you get into vampire movies, you don't know who might be one. I mean, you're sort of anytime you see Keith or Sutherland in a movie, you're suspect either way. But everybody else, it's like, wait, like, is all these dudes vampires with him? And it's like, yeah, they all are. But what a fun movie this is. What's you guys' favorite scene, Mark?
Oh man. I really love the scene of the bridge and the dinner scene. I thought the bridge scene was pretty intense. I mean, just for seeing it for the first time. Yeah, I thought it was pretty wild. And I want to say something about the beginning of it. I'm going to rush back really quickly. I love seeing two names attached to this movie in the credits. I love seeing Richard Donner. I'm big Richard Donner fan. Superman the movie is my favorite movie of all time. And anytime I see Richard Donner's name attached to something, I get excited. And I also love seeing Mark Damon as a producer. He was the lead actor in the Vincent Price and Roger Corman movie, The Fall of the House of Usher. Very, very good movie. Highly recommend. But he produced a lot of good horror stuff. So I was really excited when I saw this for the first time today.
Yeah. Don, what's your favorite scene?
I'll just mention a couple of quick ones. I really love the scene where the boys trap the vampire in the bathroom with the garlic and the holy water, and they tried to get him in there, and And it was finally Nanook that pushed his ass in there. I loved Nanook. I just loved Nanook. That was awesome. And the other one, and I was thinking about you, Jewel, is the line where they get the vampire in the living room, and he gets just fried on the electronic equipment, and the one kid's death by stereo. And I went, oh my God, his head just blew up, and there just went his hand. I went, this is awesome. And I usually don't like stuff like that, but it just felt so good to get one of those bastards like that. And it was so imaginative. I mean, it was like terror and humor at the same time. And that's a tough tightrope to do well. And they did it.
Yeah,
I love that.
Don, I think you're officially ready for Halloween 6. I really.
I don't know. We'll have to talk about that one, but go ahead.
Go ahead, Bobby. What was your favorite scene?
I want to say, along with my favorites, like my favorite scene is the dinner scene. I love how it's how they play opposite of like that trick with the vampire rules, how they don't apply when you're invited in. But I just want to say, like, this movie reminded me so much of Dracula from 1931, which is my favorite movie. I love how the vampires are both charismatic and scary at the same time. And Dracula from 1931, it was filmed in 1930, so it feels like very 1920s. And I love how, like, I've always loved that dated quality with that. And I love how the Lost Boys, like, the late 80s, so everything the 80s are in full swing, and it feels so 80s. Yeah. I loved how there's so many different vampire movies out there, so I love it when it's like such a product of its time.
Yeah. Patrick, what was your favorite scene, man?
Terror and humor. Tumor. It's not a tumor. But really, I like the dinner scene, and it's hard to forget the final line. And Bernard Hughes, God bless him, shows up, comes back. I mean, that in a movie that's so much about youth culture. It's great to see a crusty oldster show up at the end like that, kind of like in Tron. Bernard Hughes shows up at the end of Tron, and he's in that weird kind of cat sphinx outfit that I kind of wish he had worn in this. But maybe they couldn't get it away from Disney. Although, was this a Touchstone movie? I think it might have been made by Touchstone. I don't know. Who knows who made this, really? Richard Donner, Lethal Weapon with, Mitch Ryan. Let's hear it from Mitch. But Cards and Cutlasses, that was Anthony George, or Curious George as we knew him. A little too curious if you're Earl Holliman. But seriously, I did not like that one. That I would say really Bernard Hughes at the end, and really just the exuberance of the Frog Brothers. I just thought was marvelous. This is a movie that if you look at the poster and you look at the trailer, you think it's going to be one thing. It's cool youth culture versus everybody else. And there is actually a community with a lot of variety in this. You talk again about Edward Herrmann in the film. And it manages to surprise you at every turn. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about the film, and including the ending, which is, again, this is a movie I've seen, I think, twice, and I've liked it both times. And I've forgotten many elements of it in between, but that final beat and the Frog Brothers, I never forget to face. That's great. That's Con.
Daniel, what was your favorite scene?
I gotta say the dinner scene. I know, it seems like, the dinner scene one. That's most of our favorite movie. I mean scene in this, but I would say the fight scene at the end is a close second.
Yeah. One thing I could never stand about Santa Clara was the goddamn vampires. And yeah, that is one of the best lines in this. It is the line in this movie, because it's like, wait, what? He knew the whole time?
That's what I was thinking too.
Takes a village.
Well, you know what, Jill? Did you notice? I was really watching it closely. when Edward Herman was coming on the scene, did you remember, he came on the property to talk to Diane Weiss, and there was Edward Herman in the garage, and he was looking at him, and he was like closing the door, and it's like, I know you're a vampire. I have my eye on you. He knew early on about the whole story of that guy. He was ahead of everybody else.
Well, you notice too, something I noticed too about his character, Grandpa's character. Even with his own family, he never says, "Come into my house." Like, even with his own family. So he's lived there so long. He's just like, he sees them during the day. He knows they're out in sunlight. He knows they're not vampires when they show up. But he doesn't, even at night, he doesn't say, "Oh, go into my house."
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't do that. But they do. So you're right.
I think you build a decoy house on the front of your house, and you invite them into that. Looks just like your house. It's like Blazing Saddles. It looks just like your house, and you invite them into that, and then it's full of crosses and holy water, and it's game over. Maybe for me too.
This soundtrack has one of the best soundtracks probably in film history. We have the song that's going to come up most famous, "Cry Little Sister." We have "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me." People Are Strange, which are both covers here. What did you guys think of this soundtrack, Mark?
I thought it was great. I really enjoyed this. Like, it was. I mean, this movie was definitely very, very 80s, but I mean, the music, timeless.
Yeah. Don?
I agree with Mark. I mean, I think the music was so integral to it. It's part, like, it's part of the youth culture. Patrick's mentioned that, and it's held up well. I mean, maybe because I remember all of it, and I was, almost call you having me rediscover this film from Lost Boys. I'm now calling this experience the Lost Youth, because when I saw this, I was about 25 years old, and all that music was really cool, and it's held up well. Maybe I'm just because I'm 61 now and old, but it's held up well. I mean, maybe if you saw a 15-year-old see it now, they'd really appreciate it.
Yeah. Bobby, what did you think of the soundtrack?
I think it's amazing. This is actually the first time I heard it. When I first saw this movie, this was the first time I heard a lot of these songs. So you, after like seeing it, like, I remembered the music just as much as the movie.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Patrick.
What? Okay, there's the Doors song. What was the big hit from this movie, though, Jewel?
"Cry Little Sister."
Okay, Jewel, it's fine that you have that nickname for me, but I am your little sister in a way. But I really, I got you again.
Oh,
And I'm not gonna cry this time. Little sister's all grown up.
oh my God. Oh my God. What did you think of the soundtrack, Patrick?
It's good. I'm not a fan of pop music. I mean, I like Java Jive by the Ink Spots. That's my idea of a rockin' poppin' tune. I like coffee. I love tea. I love the Java Jive and it loves me. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup of blood.
Yeah. Daniel, what did you think of the soundtrack, my dude?
I thought it was pretty good. Like, and yeah, "Cry Little Sister." Like, believe it or not, after I watched this movie, I actually had to find that on YouTube because I thought it was such a good song. And yeah, I think the story behind that is, I think the guy who made it actually made up the lyrics, because I could be wrong, but I think I remember reading, like, they didn't tell him what the storyline of the movie was, so he just made something up.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Cool.
That makes sense. Often enough times, I remember Mission Impossible 2, and like there were a bunch of artists on that record, and it's like, okay, the songs make sense for what the film is, a spy movie. It's like, okay, all And sometimes you'll just have that. So, is there anything you guys want to add about the Lost Boys?
I would
They're
like to
found.
just add how great the script is, and
Yes.
how like there's
Very
so many
witty.
so many great lines.
Yeah, it's true.
Mark?
And a couple of things. I thought the scene of Jason Patrick levitating and when Corey Haim was on the phone with his mom and Jason got on the other line and was like, nothing's going on, nothing's going on. And I thought that was really good. And I just want to say for Diane Wiest, in my head, I like made a connection when she was divorced and moving out to this place on her own. I was divorced John Lithgow from Footloose and just had to get away. And unfortunately for her, she got away from that town where they don't allow music and dancing to a place with vampires. I was like, she can't catch a break.
Yeah. Send John Lithgow's after.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Or Don?
Yeah, well, a couple. I'll try to make it quick. I don't know if it's connected, but I almost feel like because I don't know I'm not an aficionado on this genre like all y'all are, but I almost feel like this was a kind of a continuation of the reimagining of the genre from Fright Night from 1985, which Patrick, I saw that out in Westwood, I think at the Fox Westwood or something, and I just love that freaking movie.
It's a great movie.
Roddy McDowell, OMG. And then you have this a couple years later, and they're reimagining it in a very clever, fresh way. And I'm thinking like the whole, like I remember Frank Langella in '79, but this kind of like brought it into these movies brought it into our era. I'm going to mention one more scene that I really loved is when he's in the comic book store and talking to the brothers, and the brothers are trying to intimidate him. And I said, well, first of all, this needs to be over here, and you never have that with this. And I got really kind of a little sentimental on that because right now in San Diego, they're having the full blown Comic-Con going on. And Patrick may know this, but that convention, we're having 135,000 people going to that.
Big.
When that convention started, it was the basement of the U.S. Grand Hotel. And what was it? It was comic books. And even up until night in the 80s, it was just comic books. And one of the news stations, Channel 8, the CBS affiliate, was doing some old footage of the stuff from the 70s. And all it was those kids that you saw in that comic book store going through the comics, going through all their, heroes or villains, and it just and just Joel, your timing on this was great because it all converged this week. And I really want to thank you for getting me to watch this film again at this specific moment in time.
Huge shout out to Justin Beam, who's out there in the San Diego Comic-Con. He's out there. So shout out to him. Not that he'll hear this, but still.
You might.
Yeah, he might. You never know.
Oh, he's
you
hearing
never
it.
know.
He's hearing it right now.
Anybody want to add anything?
I've got a question to throw out there. Do you all think with like Don was saying, vampires being like kind of reinvented, like what about do you think that Fright Night and Lost Boys kind of sparked interest again, and that's why we got Dark Shadows 91 a few years later?
I would say definitely yes. I would say there's every now and again the vampire genre re-sparks its own interest. For example, you say Fright Night, you say Lost Boys. Those two, and they were both hits. They're both successful.
Yes, it made a lot of money. Yep.
Yeah, they made a lot of money. And so Dan Curtis, who was doing Winds of War and all that stuff, here's the 90s, he realizes, oh man, those films were huge hits. Whether he saw them or not isn't the point. It's the fact they were about vampires and they were successes. Hey, time to bring back Barnabas, 1991.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a war started, and that was this poor timing. And And I think that's part of it too, part of its timing. Like, for example, in the 90s, what we were treated to on television was anime vampires. You had Vampire Hunter D. You had Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. You had, at the time, it was rumored a Castlevania movie. That never happened, but the series would happen on Netflix way, 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 way down the road. A little movie called Forsaken came out years later, reinvented the vampire. Again, what? Not yet, buddy. But it tends to
And
reinvent.
Rice.
It tends
And
to.
Rice.
Right.
Yeah, Anne Rice, even though she got a lot of her stuff from DS. But yeah, Anne Rice, yeah. Interview with the
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, Patrick, that when I was thinking after this movie, what did you get? You got Anne Rice, and then that movie came out, and that whole continuation of it.
Yeah. So I do think Nosferatu, they're remaking it, right? Robert Eggers, I think his name is. That's probably going to be the one you go, yep, that restarted the vampire genre.
I went down him.
So time will tell, right?
Love at first bite, Jewel. That's where it all started.
Hey, I'm writing a vampire story, so what do you know?
That's pretty cool.
You're going to start it.
No, I'm not. It's going to be a good story, though.
Is that the one where it's like a red moon is on the cover? Oh, sorry to interrupt you.
No. Yeah, it's sort of, yeah. It's good. It starts off at the end of the Civil War. That's where my story starts. So,
oh wow,
with this,
Looks good.
I do think that you're going with vampire movies or shows. It's all about time. Look, Buffy the Vampire Slayer 2, the movie, had a, even though it's a bit campish, it had its own audience for that too. Obviously, the series would have its own fan base. So again, there were
John Ritter as a robot. That's what really put it over the top.
Yeah, I mean, so you had vampires throughout the 80s and 90s that sort of kept that genre alive. And look, the 91 revival series of DS, though it didn't get a second season, man, that's still a hell of a one-season show. Yeah. I mean, I put it right up there with The Prisoner that Patrick got me into. It's a hell of a look. Sometimes, and I hate to say this, maybe it was his fate. It was meant to have one season, and then you can go back and look at it and go, what if?
Right. Yeah, and Jewel, you know what? Not that I was into it, but Twilight, I guess, as part of, not that I know anything about it. I haven't watched any of the movies, but I just remember when that was real big.
Listen,
they perfected the vampire. They finally got it right with Twilight. Now you want to talk serious vampire story, you're talking Twilight. Now that's where it begins and ends. Everything else is a warm-up.
I hear about Twilight enough from my wife and her friend, who are both small enough to fit into a tree, and were probably born there, like Keebler elves. No, I do hear about Twilight a lot. I do think that where Twilight had an impact, obviously the 2012 Dark Shadows movie it impacted that in a sense. But I do think, not always intentional, sometimes other vampire products impact another vampire product. Not on purpose, but sometimes. So, tomorrow night, me, Patrick, and Alan, and Gordon are covering a little movie called Hobo with a Shotgun. Is anyone if you're interested in joining us, please let me know. It's on Tubi for free.
It's hobo erotic. Sometimes a shotgun's just a shotgun, Jewel.
unless it's in Jill Valentine's hand and it's in Resident Evil 1. Anyway,
I thought this was a family show.
Yeah, I keep telling everybody this is
Yeah,
not a
the
family
Manson
show.
family.
People
I
actually
keep
think it's a
telling-
family show.
Listen, I keep telling people this is not a family show. Yes, I have a family, but this is not a family show. I will mute and whatever if one of my kids comes out here and starts talking to me, but that's so I can talk to them while you guys talk and they don't interrupt you
We
guys.
want to know what's going on. We're more interested in the drama unfolding at home.
You want to know what's going on? My wife's at work. My daughter's asleep. My son's asking me questions about when I'm getting done up here. So there's that. That's what's going on. And then when I get done here, you know what he's going to say? As soon as I get done, oh, okay, Dad, and just leave me the hell alone for the rest of the night.
Mhm.
That's what that's going to be. Because you know why? It's happened enough times, my friend. I know. I'm like,
You're a good dad.
I know. So if you're interested in joining us tomorrow night at 10:30, guys, for Hoboth and Shotgun, message me up either on Mark on Instagram if you're interested, or just tell me now, and then you guys can join. Would you like to join us? Anybody?
I won't be able to tomorrow, but I'll be looking forward to listening to you guys talking about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
I'll-
sorry. I won't be able to make it either.
Yeah, I
I'll
can't make it either.
Oh,
I'll be
I'll
there.
actually think about it, but I gotta watch it first.
Okay.
Daniel, I gotta watch it again too. I saw it once. Rutger Howard, the
Rutger.
vampire in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes.
Wow.
Some links in the description box. Links to Daniel Culver's YouTube channel. Killenberg's going to be a description box. Link to Barbara Lugosi's YouTube channel is going to be a description box. Lugosi Theater. Link to Patrick McCray's The Dark Shadows. The book Unbound. If you haven't bought it already, for Christ's sakes, go out and fucking buy it. Or we're going to send Gordon to your house, okay? He may not be on this podcast. We will send Gordon to your house. And what we're going to tell him is you know absolutely nothing about pulp magazines, and he will stay there until he teaches you about them, whether you want him to leave or not. All right, guys. Guys, have a great night.
Thank you.
Joel,
And I'll
thank
see-
you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.